Hello everyone and welcome to this week's episode of SUGTalks. I'm Craig Dale, your host, and together with our special guests we'll take a deep dive into the topics, challenges and opportunities facing SAP users today. Please make sure you subscribe so you never miss another episode. I'm delighted to be joined today by Simon Carpenter, RISE Go-to-Market and Strategy Lead at SAP EMEA North, and Emma Chambers, Process Lead for NATS, Integrated Business Systems, and also the UKI SUG S4HANA Special Interest Group Co-Chair. And for those of you who maybe are not au fait with NATS and who they are, NATS are the UK's leading provider of air traffic control services. So quite an important position and role to be in. So welcome, Simon, and welcome, Emma. And, this week's episode is focusing on RISE with SAP. And it got me channeling my inner Paul Hollywood and started thinking about cakes. And I know it's a bit of a tenuous link, I know, but what is your favourite cake? What is that your cake of choice and why? Simon?
For me, it would be a warm banana loaf with butter. And it just takes me back to my childhood. I grew up in Zimbabwe and we always had plenty of bananas. And my mum used to make these amazing banana loaves, and I've loved it ever since.
Wow, I've never tried that actually. No, I've tried banana loaf, but not warm with butter. That's on the list. I love an apple turnover, a fresh cream apple turnover. Oh my God, with a cup of tea. Oh yeah, I could eat that until the cows come home, I think. Emma.
Wow, I'm not a big cake eater or baker, but I do like. Have you heard of the soda cake? This is my level of baking, where you take like a Betty Crocker mix and you put. I'm allowed to say that other brands are available, and you put in a can of Coke. Also, other brands are available, and it makes a fantastic cake.
Oh wow!
Chocolate fudge cake.
That sounds interesting.
And if someone was going to make one for me, I'd say lemon drizzle.
Oh. I go with the lemon drizzle. That is fantastic. But amazing. These questions are quite interesting because I learned so much, and I've now got two cakes to try. So thank you both very much. And back to the matter in hand. SAP announced the launch of RISE with SAP at the start of the year, and since then, it's fair to say there's been many questions about it from across the whole of the world of SAP. At the user group, we've already run a couple of very well attended seminars, and we're currently surveying our members to get their further thoughts that we'll be bringing out later in the year. There's been a lot of marketing noise around RISE with SAP, and Simon, it would be great if we can just start our conversation. If you could just explain in layman's terms, what is RISE with SAP?
Thanks, Craig. Yeah, it'll be my pleasure to try and do that. And I think to your point in the intro, it was launched in January. It is very much a work in progress. We continue to develop as we move forward. But in terms of what it is, essentially, it's our efforts to help our customers accelerate the rate at which they can do business transformation. I guess it's fair to say every company has been doing transformation, sometimes for quite a long time now. But what we've seen, particularly on the back of the pandemic and also as globalization and the digital economy has taken hold, is that the pace of change has got much, much faster. And companies need to get to scale more quickly because the windows of opportunity, shut faster than they used to in the old days. So what we're trying to do is RISE, bearing in mind that the end game is to help our customers become these intelligent organizations that are able to adapt very quickly to circumstances, and more than that, to actually drive and get ahead of the curve from an innovation point of view. RISE is the offering we have that brings together all of the components, or most of the components, let's be more accurate there, most of the components that are needed to drive business transformation. So at the center is SAP S4HANA. But surrounding that are things like the business technology platform, which allows our customers to integrate into S4 from other legacy applications or third-party applications, so they can start to run more effective end-to-end processes. It incorporates also elements of the SAP Business Network, because we know today in a globalized world that your supply chains or value chains typically have many different partners in them that help you create your unique value. So whether that's sourcing, or whether that's logistics partners, or whether that's sharing information about the assets that you are selling to and maintaining for your customers, that's also part of the mix. Then there are tools and accelerators that are there to help focus these efforts of business transformation. So included in this is some formerly known as the BSRs, today known as Business Process Intelligence Discovery Reports. We help analyze where your opportunities lie to improve your business processes as part of this RISE offering. And also included are tools like the custom code analyzer and other tools to help you figure out how best to migrate. And so taken together, this whole bundle gives you pretty much the capabilities you need to accelerate transformation. But the other really important piece of it, Craig, is a lot of our customers want to move to the cloud. And in fact, one of our biggest RISE customers in the UK, that was their primary motivator, was they needed to, they had a outsourcing contract that was coming to an end. They were contemplating how to move to the cloud, and RISE proved for them to be a really useful vehicle to get to the cloud. And why that's important, it's about two things, about business and having business impact on business transformation. But equally, what we're also seeing, if you run an IT shop today, there's a greater demand on the IT resource of an organization to focus on applying digital technologies, on helping drive innovation. And that means you've kind of got to pivot from running an IT shop or a data center yourself to focusing more on how these services can be applied to the business. And RISE helps with that as well.
Thank you, Simon. And Emma, does that align with your overall thoughts on what RISE is?
I think an important point that Simon made, though, is that it is evolving. And I think if you look back at the launch in January, and a lot of people may have been, got a perception of what it was then, and may even been as scared off by, perceiving it as a particular standardized offer, for example. And I think it's important for people to realize, what RISE can offer now, what are the different offerings on the, in the package, and the fact that you've got private cloud options, for example. It may not be the sort of one-stop shop lift and shift standardized offering that it appeared perhaps when it was launched. So that's a really important point, I think. And hopefully, SAP can help customers to understand that. I think some of the questions would be around where it is a bundle, it's a commercial bundle. I think perhaps, some people would think, well, I can get those offerings by putting those pieces together, and I can, go and get my hyperscaler provision, and I can get my support services and my basis services, and I can get access to those tools. So I think the question that we'd ask to SAP is, what's the value of the bundle? What's the value that comes from putting it all together in that package, and what can SAP specifically bring that sort of increments that value?
Emma, thanks. That's a great question. And I think you made a really important point there, almost in passing, when you talked about standardization. I think one of the real challenges that all companies face, and this is as true, I think, at SAP as anywhere else, is that moving to the cloud does require a different mindset. You are moving to a world where your core application service that you're taking from your vendor, be that SAP or anyone else, only really works from an economic point of view if the vendor can deliver this kind of standardized service. So S/4HANA in the cloud is a collation of best practices for what we traditionally would have called ERP. And in order for that to really work for both SAP and the customers, you need to adopt it as it comes. And sure, there's configuration capabilities available in there. But the way we do the customization that we did in the past on the core system now needs to change. So you start to shift that onto the SAP business technology platform and couple it through integration capabilities into your cloud ERP system. So that mindset shift's an important thing to kind of hold in the back of your mind. It is a different approach. But like you said, that's not going to work for every company or not in the short term. So RISE offers different bundles, if I can use that term. So for some customers, perhaps they're divesting a part of their business, and that divested business needs an ERP system quickly, and they can adopt standard SAP in the cloud. Then that's one bundle of RISE, SAP public cloud version, that they could move to really quickly in a kind of greenfield implementation. But for most of our installed base, it is likely going to be a two-step journey. So within RISE, what we can do is take what you have today, move it into the cloud with a whole lot of technical services from SAP that add value and unleash your own IT shop to focus on the future rather than kind of keeping the lights on. And then from there, you would then move in the second phase into your S4HANA migration. So I hope that answers the question. I'm not sure if I've left anything out there.
I think there's just a bit about how would you say to people, trust SAP. Perhaps you know they may have tried and trusted partners that they've used these kind of for these services before. So how would you sort of encourage people to take the leap of faith, perhaps, and say, this is a different offering. You're coming to SAP for things that you may not have used us for before, and how would you encourage people?
Yeah, well, I think there's two aspects to that. Firstly, it's important to say that the partners remain a hugely important piece of the puzzle here for SAP and for our customers. And one way to think of RISE is think of it in terms of a stack. We're basically taking care of everything that sits underneath the application and making sure that it's provisioned, it's secured, it's scalable, it's getting upgraded, all of the things that an IT shop would have historically done. We're taking all of those activities on board and making sure that we deliver those to a 99.7 availability level. So and of course we have many certifications and security aspects that we share with our customers to help them get the confidence that we know how to do this, so that they can move forward with us in confidence. They may already have hyperscalers. Most of our customers have got some workloads already sitting on hyperscalers, and the argument I think you're saying is they could pick up their ERP and just put it on a hyperscaler. But what they're not going to get when they do that is all of the insights that SAP is able to bring because of the fact that we've developed all of these applications that sit within the Intelligent Enterprise framework. We understand deeply how the domain models work, how the integration capabilities work, what the content looks like, and so on. So we're bringing that as part of this RISE bundle to the table so that you really can, as an IT shop and as an SI, focus on applying this stuff and driving business change.
Some interesting points there from both of you and what you're saying. I'd like to maybe come to them if I may. And firstly, that point that it's not for every business and at this moment. And hopefully, I know from SAP perspective, you will hope it is for every business in the long term. But it kind of reflects on research I was reading from the German and American SAP use groups, DSAC and ASUG, where if you like, 24% of the American users view RISE with SAP as somewhat high or high in value, but only 12% within their German-speaking counterparts saw the same. And 39% of the DSAG members saw Rise as having little or no value, where it was a lot less in the American user group.
Hi everyone, I hope you're enjoying this episode of SUGTalks. I just wanted to take a moment to tell you that our UKI SUG Connect conference is back. Join us as we present Vision 2021, planning for the future at the ICC in Birmingham from the 28th to the 30th of November. With keynotes, 12 breakout streams, over 70 exhibitors and networking events, all aimed at driving success for the SAP community, make sure you attend the premier SAP-related event in the UK and Ireland. We're going above and beyond government and public health guidance to ensure the event is delivered in a safe and secure environment for you. We look forward to welcoming you back to Birmingham, where we can all learn and develop together. To learn more, visit sapusers.org/connect.
So does kind of this indicate that there's no need for Rise with SAP? Or is it that we just need to have more education about it and more talking about the potential benefits? Let's forget all the marketing speak, but really getting into it and understanding what is the value to you and your business.
Craig, if I'll take that. I think it's a little bit of both. I think the first thing that I noted when I read that research that you've just referred to across the States and Germany is that there is, I think, a significant kind of, I don't know if cultural is the right word, but there's a significant difference in sort of adoption of cloud or readiness to adopt cloud, and I think there's no doubt that in America they are ahead of the curve when it comes to stepping into new technologies, and that it would include cloud. So there is that aspect that one needs to think about. But equally, there's no doubt, this Rise offering was launched in January. It's fairly new. It takes time. We have to make sure we're enabling all of our own people internally across 100,000 folks in SAP to get the message and understand it and change their behaviors. And at the same time, we have to do a better job and an ongoing job of communicating with our customers what the value is. And of course, nothing is more powerful than a customer who's done it. So as we get more customers coming on board with Rise, executing on it and seeing the value, and we start to be able to bring those stories and those data points to the market, I think you'll see the pace of change accelerate. I guess it's a little bit like, Geoffrey Moore's crossing the chasm from all those years ago. We've got our early adopters. Once people see that it works, you will see the mainstream coming on board.
I think I agree with you, Simon. There are definite cultural differences, and also every organisation is different. And if you're an organisation that has spent a lot of time with an on-premise solution, perhaps putting years of investment into your controls and your customisation, and you're very comfortable with that, then that you may not see the value in a proposition such as Rise. So it may not just be culturally across the Atlantic, but also each individual organisation will be in a different place too.
Yeah, Emma, I think you're absolutely right. And of course, there's always that resistance to change and perhaps an element of fear that comes into this, because if you think about SAP is now taking on all of the technical managed services for your SAP systems, where historically, if you were on-prem, you would have had a lot of your own people doing that. The question comes up, what do we do with those people? Obviously, and hopefully they get retrained and they become more valuable as sort of digital evangelists and ambassadors and innovators within your organization. But you've got to think about those things as well.
And that's quite interesting, staying on that point about, what you both touched on there about moving to the cloud and the different cultural aspects, but also the challenges and, the traditional on-premise SAP users, it does pose major challenges. And you mentioned there, obviously, people, and in that regard, Simon, are there any other specific challenges facing customers and moving to the cloud, and how can Rise with SAP help them?
So I think one of the challenges always is the current landscape and the amount of customization customers have done and how much they rely on that customization. So you've got to think about what are we taking forward in the first place, and then you have to marry that to the SAP roadmaps. So how are our products evolving in the cloud? Because you have to make decisions. So for example, companies will have invested likely quite significant efforts in using NetWeaver PO to do integration. The future direction at SAP is very much the cloud integration services. So that in itself becomes a whole conversation about how do I take all of that integration forward into the cloud. Now, and that's why we've built a team, you know, in every market unit now, we have a team of cloud architects with the expertise to have these kind of conversations with the customers, with our customers, to make sure that we're really looking at every single aspect of this journey to make the best possible decision for a customer. And the great thing about RISE is it offers those choices. You know, it doesn't matter what your point of departure is, whether you're new to SAP completely, whether you're sitting on an ERP system and looking to move, or whether you've already made a move to S4 but on premise and you now want to move that to the cloud. We have the capabilities to cater for all of those eventualities.
I'm glad you mentioned integration, Simon, because I think that's something that we sometimes overlook. It's not just about the customization in your ERP, but some people have very complex integration landscapes, and it is a daunting prospect to try to rework that. And also to say, you know, when people have they kind of want to move to standard, but the idea of it being forced on them, you know, standardizing an approach is very uncomfortable. And there's always a fear that you'll go through, you know, you'll lose a lot of value you've invested in your customization that you've put together over the years. You'll have to rework processes, and you may not actually get the result at the end of it, ultimately, that you want. So I think there is a lot of fear to overcome, as well as, you know, things like the cultural and logistic challenges of change.
Yeah, you're absolutely right, Emma. And it's a journey. You know, RISE is a step into the S4 HANA and cloud world combined, and it's a journey. I mean, one of the customers I'm thinking of in the UK, it's a 5-year path to go from multiple ERP systems into the cloud and then into SAP S4 HANA with some consolidation of those underlying ERPs.
Thanks. And just moving on to one of the other points that you were making earlier about SAP looking after everything under the application level, and you know, a lot was made around RISE with SAP being a single handshake deal with SAP, but how realistic is that, Simon?
So, I think we're maybe a little over ambitious in our marketing when we said a single handshake. It's definitely. I think the one point I would make is that what we see in this cloud world is coming back to what I said earlier about the cloud mindset. You could say in the past that SAP sold you, a bunch of software licenses, and then you were kind of left with an SI or your own competence center to go and sort it out, get it implemented, and you'd have occasional interactions with SAP over the ensuing years. In this world that we're moving into in the cloud, we're living with you day to day. You know, typically, especially for our larger customers, there will be SAP people on site having conversations with the business, with IT every single day, because you're consuming these services from us. So that's one change that is going to come. But the single contract, and again, I want to come back to try and paint this mental picture. You're signing a contract with SAP for everything from the sort of the bare metal up to the applications. So all of the issues around, you know, where this software is mounted, how it's upgraded, how it's, you know, successfully provisioned for the kind of scale at which your business operates, all of those issues we are taking on board, working very closely, of course, with the infrastructure provider, which in some cases will be SAP itself, but in most is going to be one of the big hyperscalers that we kind of combine into our contract. But you will have other contracts. You will have contracts with systems integrators who you will use for things like change management, business model design, business process redesign, and all of those kind of traditional SI work that gets done to make sure the application services fit your business. And then you may also have contracts with them for application management services. So we'll do the technical management services, provisioning these systems to you, and your other partners will do the other bits of work.
Okay. And where do customers therefore turn to if they've got issues and questions? Is there some kind of form of engagement plan that's worked out with the customer and between all the SAP and all the partners involved?
Very much so. This is something we've paid a lot of attention to. Our own operating model, as we've moved, to become a cloud vendor, our own operating model has changed quite dramatically internally, and we now have a new organizational structure called the Customer Success Organization within SAP. It's arguably one of the biggest board areas in the company, and there's two elements to that. One is staffing it with people who are there to hold our customers' hands, actually hold our customers in some cases accountable for doing what they need to do to play their own part in success. But it's about building really robust governance models that ensure everybody understands what swim lane they are in, what they are accountable and responsible for in that swim lane, and keeping it all coordinated. So as a customer, you're getting a really great experience, but above that, you're getting the value that you signed up for in the first place. And that includes our partners. So it's a tripartite. In some cases, there'll be more than one SI involved in really large organizations, but as many partners as it takes, we're pulling it all together in a robust, transparent governance model. With when you sign up for RISE, there's a very distinct 30-day, 60-day, 90-day plan that everybody knows what's happening as we move forward.
Okay, thank you. And some industry experts have been seen to say that RISE with SAP is simply a means to try and accelerate user adoption of S4. Emma, as our S4HANA SIG chair, do you have any views on this, and have you heard anything from our members?
Yeah, I think the questions that people have is how can it help to accelerate your move to S4? Because a lot of people are still in that position of trying to work out the value of S4, the business case. We know there are a lot of tools available, but I suppose if you look at something that is a commercial bundling of services, I guess the question is, how does RISE actually help people to take away some of the pain points of the journey? How does it help with the transition and maybe accelerate it? I don't know, Simon, you can sort of expand a little bit more on what it means as a RISE customer rather than just as an SAP customer.
Yeah, Emma, thanks for that. I think what RISE does, in very simple terms, is it tries to make the journey that our customers need to take to S4 and to accomplish all of the other business transformation stuff they want to do alongside that. It makes that journey more coherent by bringing everything together from SAP in a much more integrated fashion. So we ourselves, when we face off now to our customers, have a much more coherent approach than might have been the case in the past. We've tried to simplify the engagement by bringing all of these elements together so that things move faster and they're easier to comprehend for our customers. Then the second thing is, and it's interesting, we talk a lot in life about you want to have choice, but what we've also seen from a lot of our customers is the customers saying to us, we as SAP need to be a bit more prescriptive. Don't give us all of these choices because that takes time for us to sift through them. So come to us with best practices, come to us with proven approaches. And, in most cases, we'll be more than willing to listen to that and adopt them where obviously where they make sense. So a big part of RISE is this notion of the guided journey, where we know what needs to be done. And because we have this new, more profound and deeply integrated relationship with our customers, we're stepping through that guided journey, in a much closer fashion than we did in the past.
I think that would be very welcome, because you're right, there are a lot of moving parts to everyone's journey anyway. A lot of offerings from SAP, tools that have different names and are used at different stages of your journey. So I think to clarify that landscape and give people a really clear path would be very, very welcome for users.
Thanks. Yeah. And just on that offerings element, rather than the tools, obviously there are lots of services under RISE, and since it was launched in January, more services have been added as we've gone through this year. Is there a roadmap, Simon, and will additional services be added to RISE as we go forward?
For sure they will, Craig. As with most things, what we've tried to do is analyze what our customer base looks like, what our customers are asking for, and come forward with the most important or the most often demanded capabilities first. And then, we'll address the long tail, as it were, as we move forward. So you'll know that, for example, from an industry point of view, we focused on 5 industries initially. More will follow, and we've announced the notion of modular ERP, where we're incorporating some of the capabilities from the other line of business solutions like SuccessFactors or Ariba or the business network into the RISE offering, the ones that make most sense, that are typically really important. So, for example, identity and access management is an important part of that comes out of the OCFO suite of solutions. But it will definitely grow as we go forward.
Thank you. And now I'd just like to go back again on one of the points that was, has cropped up a couple of times actually, and that's the role of partners and the importance in the role of partners in RISE with SAP. And is SAP expanding the number of certified RISE with SAP partners in this to have more choice for customers? And because I think initially it was some of the big players in the market there. How is SAP going out to the partners and building the partner ecosystem with this?
We're definitely, we're as a sort of general statement, we're always looking to get great new partners on boards, because they grow and it helps us grow, and it gives our customers access to more capabilities. But with RISE in particular, you're right. There was for our very large customers, there was initially a focus on the big SIs, but where we also see a lot of traction for RISE is in the mid-market environment, and with net new name customers, people who haven't used SAP before. This becomes quite an attractive option for them if they're trying to grow their businesses, to have a bundle like RISE where they get access to a lot of capabilities can be very attractive. And there we have our value-added reseller channel, very, very active, and that's an ongoing effort from SAP as well. And a lot of that, as we alluded to earlier on, I think, Craig, when you were referring to the recent user group study, that's a lot about enablement, helping our partners to understand what RISE is about, so that they can then go and convey that to their customers.
Thank you. And what was quite pleasing to me is that one of the first kind of announcements from a partner, if you like, on a RISE with SAP customer came from one of SAP's partners who I've known for a lot of years, who were a Business One reseller, then moved into the by design space, and now of course they've got a RISE customer. So that's really nice to see how the partners are working through the ecosystem, and it doesn't have to be just the big boys, if you like. And what are your thoughts, Emma, around the RISE with SAP? Do you think it's a complementary or potentially a competing offer for some existing services provided by partners?
It's difficult, isn't it? Because I guess it is both, and I guess it depends on how partners are up for sort of looking at the opportunity as well as the challenge. Because you're right, they are competing offerings out there. There are lots of different ways to get to the cloud and to get to S4. So I guess it depends on the partners and whether they see this as an opportunity to actually join part of a bigger movement, I guess. Do you feel the partners are up for it, Simon?
Yeah, no. I think it's always a challenge when you introduce something new, because there's the possibility that you step on somebody's toes. And the fact that we are taking on board this challenge of running all the technical managed services, which historically may have been done by a hosting partner, could create some competitive tension. But our hope is that those partners will recognize that those type of services were commodifying anyway. The margins for them would have been under constant pressure anyway, and that it's in their best interest actually to think about how do you move up the value chain and start to offer services around innovation, business transformation, change management, where you can have a higher value impact on our mutual customers.
And I think we're in a market where we're seeing a lot more collaboration, have been over the previous years anyway. So that's feeding into exactly that ethos, as you say, of how can different partners with different specialisms combine to provide a really good outcome for customers. Yeah. That's exactly what we want to see.
That's right, Emma. Yeah.
Excellent, thank you. And we're coming to the end now, and of this episode. So thank you both very much. And just one final word from you, Simon, if I may. What would your advice be to any organisation looking to utilise RISE with SAP, or even thinking about their move to the cloud?
I would say two things, Craig. One is talk to your account executive or your partner. It's moving fast. The business environment itself is moving fast. The digital environments may be moving, or technology environments may be moving even more quickly. And there's a lot of moving parts. And we need to get into really robust conversations to understand, our customers' aspirations and challenges, and what we can bring to the table with our partners to help meet those aspirations and solve those challenges. So that's the first thing I would say. Make sure you're getting what you need from SAP. The second thing I would say is, join the user group, join Emma's SIG, and take part in those conversations. Learn from other organizations how they're tackling this stuff. And this is where I think the user group is such a powerful organ out there in the marketplace. It's kind of unfiltered experience being shared, and that's hugely useful because everybody learns from that.
I second that. Please, yeah, join the user group. There is a wealth of experience and lessons to be shared, definitely.
Well, thank you both very much. And on that note, we will end. So Emma, Simon, thank you very much for your time and for your insights. It's been a great conversation. And thank you all for listening. We hope you enjoyed the conversation and found it valuable. So until the next time, stay safe, stay well, and keep washing your hands.